Hello everyone, my name is Ashraf Ismail. I am the game director for Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and you are watching Eurogamer.
Hey all, Ian from Eurogamer here with yet more exclusive AC4 Black Flag interviewee goodness. Past AC4 interviews have been themed around different aspects of the game, but this bumper interview with game director Ashraf Ismail is more of a pick and mix of different questions and topics. So Ash, first up, why was the choice made to detail a lot of Edward Kenway's story, including his death, last year in novel form? Does this remove some of the mystery from this year's instalment?
No. There's a lot of story to tell with Edward. The seed of Edward has been planted a long time ago, and this is the character we set out from the beginning with AC4 to use. So we were already comfortable with the idea that yes, his death and his later years of his life are already out in the public. But what Edward goes through in our game, this is what we find valuable. We're not telling the story of his life and how he dies. We're telling the story of a man who's immature. He's a bit of a teenager in his personality, selfish and out for himself. And we are telling the story of how this man takes on responsibility and becomes a man. Not a superhero, but accepts responsibility and figures out who he is in life. And this story, it's a bit different than the previous ACs, so we're really excited about telling that aspect of Edward.
You hang tight, love. I'll be back.
Has the present day story reached a point where it's become too confusing for new players?
Well, this was an objective that we had from the beginning of this game, that we wanted new players. They could jump into our game, AC4, even though it is AC4, that they could jump in without having to have known the past. With the end of Desmond's story in AC3, we felt that there's an opportunity to do something different, to kind of, it's not a reset or reboot, but it's a new beginning for the present day. So we developed it. The hero of the present day is you, the player. It's played in first person. You're working for Abstergo Entertainment, using the Animus to research the life of historical figures, one of them being Edward Kenway. And because you're a new employee in Abstergo, you're starting to learn about who Abstergo is, who the Templars are, who the Assassins are, in the narrative of AC4. So new players will also go through this learning curve. That we give them just enough. Of course, in the present day, there's actually a lot of fan service, a lot of content that you can find that's optional. You can see what happened to Desmond's body. You can see a lot of the mythos of the AC universe being fleshed out for you, and this is there as fan service. So we care about our fans, but we also want new players to come in. And with AC4 specifically, we went out of our way to make sure that the narrative is in line with someone new into the franchise.
You always manage to tie in a modern day aspect to the games. Would you ever consider just doing a straightforward historical tale?
It is possible, but the present day, it's an integral part of the story. We are able to go to different parts of of time and different places in the world because we have the justification of the animus, of the technology, and because it's been part of the brand. We don't want to let that go. There is value in it. It just needs to be treated properly and treated right. And there is this overarching story that is going on. Having said that, Assassin's Creed Liberation on PS Vita was released without a present day. So there is room for it, but we are careful with how we treat it because it is important to the brand.
Is there any chance we'll see Haytham make an appearance?
So Haytham is Edward's son, but I don't want to ruin the surprise for people. You can use your imagination and figure that one out.
Okay, and how about some form of virtual Desmond?
So Desmond's story is over. You will see, we do have content that actually explains what happened to Desmond after AC3. Again, without ruining anything, this stuff we've added in really for fans, people who loved Desmond and who care about him. There is content to find in the game that's about him, but I won't commit to exactly what that content is.
So you'll be getting Nolan North back to voice a few lines, maybe?
potentially.
How much will the Assassin's Guild play into the game? Will you still be able to summon recruits into battle?
We no longer have the BAM mechanic, which is the Brotherhood mechanic. We felt it didn't fit into Edward's narrative. You know, he is a pirate at the beginning of the game. Of course, we supplement it by having a crew. The crew is a different system altogether, but it's the idea that you are not alone. You have others that are working with you, but as a pirate. The Brotherhood, there are assassins in the Caribbean. They have guilds, and you are one of the recruits. Actually, you are trained by these assassins for a specific reason that you find out in the narrative. But we see the recruit side of it. We don't see the you being the master assassin aspect. For the gameplay that people loved from the Mediterranean gameplay, sending assassins on missions, we have something similar to this, which is Kenway's fleet. Virtually every ship in the game is boardable. When you board a ship and successfully plunder it, you can send that ship to your fleet. And the fleet is something that you send across the world, pirating and plundering for you outside of the Caribbean. And this is something that people will be familiar with the Brotherhood.
Okay, pretend it's a completely calm day on the sea. No storms, just clear skies and easy sailing. How much time would it take to cross from one side of the map to the other in the Jackdaw?
I would say it'll take across the whole world. I will say maybe half an hour. But we have multiple ways of navigating. We have this feature called travel speed. This actually makes the ship go quite fast, but it places the camera in a cinematographic way where you don't feel the speed, but you see the beauty of the world. This is something I'm actually proud of because it turned out to be a very beautiful moment. We have a lot of mechanisms that bring comfort to players, because if you've been to a place, we don't want you having to drive there over again if you already made the effort to get there. So we have a lot of fast travel points. When you synchronize with a reach high point, not only does it reveal the icons around you in the area and unfog the map, but now it also becomes a fast travel point. So the traveling in the world, yes, you do have to travel from Florida all the way down to Jamaica and Kingston, but we have a lot of comfort tools for you to be able to not have to do it if you don't want to.
So I'm guessing a few of you guys on the dev team may have played Wind Waker.
Yes, of course we looked at it as a reference because it is somewhat of a naval open world. And we looked at the pros and cons of that. Of course, it was much more cartoony, so they had sea monsters and random races and treasures that would pop up in the ocean. But we did take a look at that. We learned a lot from that. I would say other references, bigger references for us were actually maybe more like Skyrim or Far Cry 3, because we had, at some point we had a good idea of how to build the naval open world, but what we wanted was that feeling of exploration and the motivation for why do you even travel through this world? Why do you care about that range, that beautiful looking island in the back? It's not just a new map. There should be something more driving you. So we looked a lot at Skyrim and our own game, Far Cry 3.
Ubisoft developers love borrowing ideas from each other's games and occasionally putting Easter eggs regarding each other's titles into their games as well, such as the Far Cry 3 DLC, which included lots of nods to Abstergo. Would you ever do complete crossover games, maybe an AC-themed Far Cry?
Well, I don't think it makes sense for Ubisoft to ever have like a really massive crossover where the worlds are the games somehow merge. But we have many beautiful worlds that we've created as Ubisoft, the company. So for sure, we have a bit of fun with it. There's a lot of Easter eggs, and in AC4, for the people who look for it and the people who dig, they will find Easter eggs with some of our other big games that are about to be released as well. I don't want to ruin the surprise because they're fun little nuggets. But yes, we do have fun with the other dev teams. And maybe you'll see some of our Easter eggs in other games as well.
We've been told that some hunting mechanics have been lifted from Far Cry 3. Does this mean there will also be the random animal attacks that played such a large part in making Far Cry 3 unpredictable and fun?
So there are we have systemic animals in the world. Obviously many unique to the Caribbean, or all unique to the Caribbean, so we have a bunch of new animals in the world, some of them ambient life, some of them used for the hunting, and predators, of course. So yes, people can expect that a puma might charge them at some point.
How much life will be in the game once you've completed the main story? Will there be a point where you 100% everything and you have to start all over again, or could you sail around the Caribbean seas forever, taking on random encounters?
With the progression of the Jackdaw, we actually expect that people, if people push themselves while playing in the story, maybe they'll finish the game with about half the upgrades. So there's actually quite a bit to do for the progression. There is 100% completion of each location, and this is actually information that we provide to the player. As I said before, with the spyglass, you can see what is available on each location. So you will be able to complete all the different locations. Aside from this, there are actually achievements and objectives, and I will even say enemies that are incredibly difficult to get. So you will have to invest time into upgrading and mastering the abilities of naval combat to face these challenges. But you can always board every ship. You can always collect as much cargo as you need to move forward. So we want people to spend as much time as they want in the Caribbean open world.
Can you talk a little bit about water spouts and how they can help and hinder you in the game?
We have storms in the game, storms that you'll see at a distance, storms that just come up above you. So we play a lot with the weather because we wanted the mood and the feeling of the Caribbean to be authentic, but also used as a gameplay ingredient. One of those elements of a storm is the water spout. This is a tornado in the water. These are real things that are incredibly scary and really shocking to see. So we did a bit of research on this, and we got a lot of references for this. In a storm, if you get too close, it will start sucking you in. You have to try to really navigate well to get past one of these things. If you get stuck in its current, expect to lose a lot of crew, expect to take damage, and if you don't escape, you will lose your ship. So they are very dangerous. But because it's an ingredient in the world, it is an open world. We want players to master playing with these water spouts. And then, if you're facing a tough challenge or you see a little convoy, with 3 or 4 ships that's a bit hard to take on by yourself, you can tag them and have them come to you. And if you see a storm nearby, we want you to pull them into the storm because they won't be as efficient as you are. Once you've mastered dealing with a water spout, you'll have the advantage over them. So we want players to take advantage of this. It is a systemic open world. We learned a lot from Far Cry 3. We have developers from that team working with us, really pushing how systemic ingredients in the world can create this emerging gameplay. And water spout storms are one of these ingredients.
So, do the crew act as a health meter for the ship? If you lose all the crew, is it game over, or are you just left all alone on your ship? Boo-hoo.
You need a minimum number of crew to pilot and to navigate the Jackdaw. On this element, though, we are a bit friendly. We found initially when we did a lot of testing with this, did a lot of prototyping of, can you lose all your crew? Does the ship function? What we found was it was a bit too aggressive, and it wasn't very clear for the player because you still have the ship health. So you had these 2 meters that were kind of combating each other. You can lose crew. You do need to gain crew. They're incredibly valuable for naval combat and for boarding. During a boarding, if you lose your crew, then you're done. So this is an important element of boarding, is that you need to pay attention to your crew. They will sometimes ask you for help. If you're in trouble, they will come to your aid as well. So the crew, we wanted a really strong relationship with them, between Edward and the crew themselves. But yes, you will lose if you lose them during boarding. Through the naval, through pure navigation, you can lose crew, but we don't let you lose more than the minimum because we don't want the pure navigation to be frustrating.
Finally, Ashraf, what can you say to the fans of the Assassin's Creed franchise who are worried by the emphasis on the open world pirating over the classic stealthy assassination style gameplay? And what can you say about Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag to players who may think the AC franchise is getting boring after so many installments?
Assassin's Creed 4, we love our fans. We don't want to, we need our fans. So for sure people will find the comforts of AC in there. It's at the beginning, this was one of the challenges. Everybody would ask us, pirates and assassins, do they mix together? Is it too far from the base? And it's actually quite the opposite. In fact, even pirates themselves, they were sailors who could climb. They had to fight. and they were outlaws. So the stealth mechanic makes sense. So on a mechanic level, it makes sense. And I think when people actually see the demos we showed at E3 and subsequent demos and demos that people will see in the future, you will have the AC comforts, but in a world that you've never seen from us before. A naval open world that's super exciting. It's very fresh. The way you interact with it, we've really pushed ourselves out of our comfort zones to build this world with a progression system. So it's our job to always surprise fans, to always bring something new that keeps the games interesting. If the fans don't ask for more ACs, if we start boring our fans with the same old content, I mean that's on us. So our job is to surprise people, and I feel like with AC4, with the pirate, an authentic pirate game, it's not what people are going to expect. It has the AC comforts, but in a world unlike anything they've seen. And of course, the way we tell our story, it is the classic AC way. Edward is an awesome character. I think people will love him. We loved creating him, and we love working with him. So he even surprises us sometimes, or at least our writers surprise us with what they write. So again, from a narrative standpoint, people will be comfortable with AC, but with a new character that will surprise them.
Thanks, Ash. It's time for me to set sail into the sunset once again. And as I wave bon voyage, please do click on that on-screen annotation and honour us with a subscription. We have plenty more exclusive coverage on the horizon to share with you guys, and by subscribing you'll get to see it all first. Ta-ra!